Welcome to the Health Channel, all health, all the time. A hot button topic, one that's controversial with legislators, but for some doctors, it's considered the medicine of the 21st century. That's right, we're talking about the healing properties of CBD oil. And joining us to talk about CBD, what it is, and how she's personally benefited from it is Dr. Milagros Hernandez, internist and rheumatologist, as well as a cancer survivor. Welcome to the show, Dr. Hernandez. It's such a pleasure to have you.
Thank you for having me. Pleasure to be here with you to discuss such a hot topic.
And I wanted to first start about the healing properties of CBD and how they relate to you, because I understand you are an internist, but you're also a cancer survivor, and that has a lot to do with your connection with CBD.
Correct. In 2010, I was diagnosed with breast cancer. It was a shock to me since I thought I was very healthy. I used to get my mammograms yearly, check myself, self-examine, and when I was diagnosed, I said, being a doctor, I said I have to do everything that I need to do to survive,
right.
Because I know the consequences. And my son was 9 years old at the time, so I said I need to do whatever's in my power to survive. I wanted to see my son graduate from at least high school.
Right.
I said, I don't want to leave an orphan child. My doctor recommended bilateral mastectomies because I had a lot of calcifications. And he told me he did a biopsy, and they diagnosed me with DCIS and lobular carcinoma, 2 types.
What is that? Can you explain what kind of cancer that is?
Intraductal carcinoma insitus and lobular.
Okay.
Thank God it was not, I didn't have metastasis, but I needed bilateral mastectomies. And I said, fine, my breasts are not important. My health, my life is number one. I want my child to have a mother, and also to empower women not to feel ashamed to get mastectomies.
And that was an easy decision for you to do?
It was not an easy decision, but I knew and I wanted to survive, to live. However, during the surgery, it was decided mastectomy was recommended by my surgeon. And during the surgery, I had never had a surgery. I was a healthy woman, literally. And I almost died during the anesthesia. They couldn't intubate me. It took 2 hours for the intubation. And obviously I didn't know what was going on because I was sedated.
Right.
But when I woke up, they were cleaning my face, full of blood, and I was going like this, like I didn't know what was going on. I was still half sedated.
It's such a traumatic to go
and
through this mastectomy and then to wake up and
being healthy.
Being healthy, yes.
And I couldn't hardly speak because it was very traumatic, the intubation. And actually the surgeon, which is my friend, wanted to stop the surgery, cancel it. And the anesthesiologist said no, because if you tell her what has happened, she will not have the surgery again. So let me try one last time with a neonatal intubation kit. And he was able to intubate me. But the trauma was so great, I was not able to speak for about 3 weeks, or I hardly eat anything because the trauma was so great in my larynx. And from there on, that recuperation took about a couple of weeks for me to feel a little healthier. I lost a lot of weight. I went down to 90 pounds, 89 pounds. But I started investigating. I said I had a lot of time to do that, which I never had before because I was always working.
Right.
I'm a practicing physician. So I started investigating. I started looking at all the labels of everything I used because I had no clue why I would have this. I did not have the gene, no family history, and I eat pretty healthy, I thought. And when I started reading the label, I saw the carcinogen, all the toxin that everything I used had, from the deodorant to the shampoo to the makeup, which I thought.
So you're referring to beauty products that you were using?
Exactly, that I was using.
Skincare, beauty. Okay.
Actually, household products as well. Cleaning products.
Cleaning products.
Everything had toxin, and then I started reading that the accumulation of toxin can lead and help increase your chances of cancer, not only breast cancer, but other cancers as well. And then I decided to do my research and start eating, I stopped using a lot of products. I started reading labels and see, to make myself healthier.
Absolutely. Now, when was the first time that you remember that you took the hemp oil?
That was about 2 years ago.
Okay.
And how it started, how I came across during my research looking for something healthy for me to use. I came across an article from physician, Dr. Sean McAllister. He's based in California, where he did a study with CBD and the effect on cancer cells. And he proved that it acts on the gene ID1 in advanced breast cancer cell. It stops the reproduction of cells as rapid. Doesn't cure it, but it stops that rapid progression of the cells, of replicating the cells. And that, at that moment, being a breast cancer survivor, I say, I gotta try this. I gotta investigate this oil. So I did. And the benefits are so fantastic that I say, I gotta use this. I have to somehow implement it in my lifestyle.
Right. Now, do you currently still use it, correct?
Yes, every day.
Every single day. And we're going to get into that. But first, I want to talk about CBD. And many viewers who are tuning in may not know CBD, or maybe there's a lot of misinformation about CBD. So what does it stand for, and what is it exactly?
It stands for cannabidiol. Now, there are different types of CBD, and there's a big confusion, even between physicians. There's a big confusion. Everyone thinks it's cannabis, marijuana, which is not, because there are different types of CBD.
Right.
There's CBD from hemp and CBD from the cannabis plant, which are, let's say, cousins. Do you have cousins? Do you have brother, sister? You're not the same, right?
Right. We're different.
We're not this different. So it's the same thing. They're like family, but different.
Okay.
The cannabis has CBD, but high level of THC.
Right.
That's what makes you high. That's what gives you the psychosis, the psychoactive effect. The CBD from hemp has 0.3% of THC.
Right. And just to clarify, the hemp is the one that's regulated and the one that is legal.
Legal, exactly. And it has the higher doses amount of CBD.
Okay. So now where does the CBD come from?
CBD comes from the hemp.
The hemp.
The hemp, and also from the cannabis, but the cannabis has high level of THC.
Right.
And that's the one that's illegal or legal in certain states.
Right.
Okay.
And that's why I wanted to reaffirm exactly where it came from, because what we're talking about today is that CBD from hemp.
From hemp, correct.
Okay. Now, let's clear some misconceptions, and let's talk about the difference between, again, as you mentioned, the street marijuana and medical marijuana, because there is a difference. They're two completely different things, correct?
Correct.
Okay.
The street marijuana is non-regulated, it's illegal, and it has high level of THC. That's why people use it to get the high. Now, the medical marijuana has some THC, not as high, but also has some CBD. It's like almost equal amount.
Okay.
But that you need to get it at a dispensary.
Okay.
And it has to be prescribed.
Because the medical marijuana has low dosages of THC.
Lower doses.
Lower.
Lower.
Okay.
But not as low as the one from hemp.
Okay. Now, the cannabis oil in itself, what is that?
The cannabis oil, you have as well cannabis oil and CBD oil.
And CBD
from
oil.
hemp.
Okay.
So which are different. The cannabis oil still has THC at a higher dose than the one from hemp. Now, the one from hemp, you have the hemp oil that has hardly any CBD. It has 3.5%
Hardly any
average.
THC, you mean?
No, we're talking about the hemp.
Okay.
That's the oil from hemp
Okay.
and the CBD from hemp,
Okay.
and which is legal. That's the one legal, but they're different. They're from the same plant, but different.
Okay.
The hemp oil has lower dose of CBD, but it's a superfood. It's considered superfood because it's full of omega and vitamins.
Okay.
The CBD oil has very high dose of CBD. And it has better in the health market, many benefits.
Right. And one of the misconceptions that we hear is when you say CBD, someone might say, oh, well, I don't want to get high. But actually, with CBD, you do not get the high effect.
You do not at all, because it has 0.3 traces of THC.
Maybe sleepy.
It has an effect on some people. It makes you sleepy, and that's why it's recommended to take it at night
Right.
because it relaxes you.
Okay.
You get relaxed. It acts as an anxiolytic, as an antidepressant. It can help. Not that I don't tell people stop your antidepressant, no, but it enhances.
Enhances it.
Enhances.
Perfect. Okay, now here's something interesting that I learned recently. As humans, all humans, we actually all have something called an endocannabinoid system, or ECS. ECS, can you tell us what this is exactly? When I learned this, I was so shocked to know. You're like, but that's inside me? So what is it?
Yeah, we have our own endocannabinoid system, which regulates, it causes homeostasis, equilibrates all the other system. It regulates your equilibrium. It balances out your system, your digestive system, your pulmonary system. So it causes your equilibrium. Without that, we don't have the equilibrium.
Right.
So we have two types of receptors, CBD1 and CBD2. That's why the CBD works so well, because we have our own receptors. However, we don't store the CBD. We use it as we produce it.
That's such an interesting fact about the human body. I do want to share with our viewers who might be maybe a little bit confused about CBD as we speak about it. We have a graphic, and the first thing we want to know is CBD legal? Because I'm sure that's a question that we all get as well, that you get as well.
CBD from hemp is legal in all 50 states and in 40 countries around the world.
In 40 countries. Okay, do you need a prescription for it?
No, you don't.
You do not?
No.
Okay, so I want to clear that one up. You obviously need a prescription or a medical marijuana card if you to go to a dispensary, but for CBD, you don't need it.
No, you don't. For the medical, you do.
Okay.
And the physician has to be certified to prescribe.
Now, we know that CBD does not make you high, and it may make you sleepy, and that's why it's better to take it in the evening. But another question that we often get is, will CBD show up on a drug test?
CBD will not show on a drug test because you only have traces, 0.3%, less than 0.3%. It will not show. Okay. Actually, if you apply it topically, it only works locally. You don't absorb it in your bloodstream.
Okay. Now, another important question is it regulated, and how is it regulated?
It is regulated, especially in states like Colorado, Arizona. It's very regulated by the Department of Agriculture.
Right. Because you also want to make sure that you're receiving CBD from hemp and not from something that has not been regulated.
Correct. And how you have to do your research.
Right.
You have to know where you get it from, the laboratory that produces it, because there's a lot of CBD that's very inexpensive, which is not the case. CBD is an expensive oil. When you see a CBD that's very cheap, you have to beware, buyer beware.
Because the CBD is a little costly, correct?
It's costly, and some people dilute it, or they put fillers to make it cheaper.
Right. So how would you know that what you're buying is a whole product? What are some things to look out for if you're buying CBD oil? Actually,
a reputable company that makes it. There are many reputable companies that are out there, and also to have third lab testing, to have your CBD tested in a third lab, which is an outside lab.
Thank you, Dr. Hernandez. That's great feedback. Now, coming up, we're going to talk about some of the healing properties of CBD oil. And of course, while there are a lot of benefits, what are the risks? We're covering it all when we return on the Health Channel. All health, all the time on South Florida PBS.